welcome to the Woollentwine Fibrestudio YouTube channel. My name is Jule and I'm the dye and maker behind Woollentwine Fibrestudio, which is a small creative space located here in northern Germany where I play with botanical dyes and natural yarns. If you're a returning viewer, welcome back, and if you just found your way into my little corner of the internet, a warm welcome to you. I'm so happy that you're here and wanting to hear about my recent crafty projects. In this episode, I want to share my recent crafting projects with you, mainly knitting, but I also have a little bit of spinning on the side, so I'm going to share those with you. And there are quite a few because I haven't been recording in a while, to be honest, and that is because my summer was relatively eventful when it comes to work-related things. So to those of you who are new here, I am a yarn dyer, and I work with natural dyes only and my own custom spun yarn bases. So this is my full-time job, and the summer had some, let's say, unexpected new things to be working with. And I'm going to share about this a little bit later in the episode and have a little behind-the-scenes business-related updates part of the episode, but I will put that one to the end. And share my fun crafty projects first, I guess. So without further ado, let me start sharing what I've been up to recently. If I would start this update kind of chronologically, I have to start sharing some of my handspuns with you, because those are the ones that I finished the most time ago, and without further ado, let me do so. So I finished 2 skeins of yarn over my vacation week in the summer, where I went to Denmark with my boyfriend, and these are the 2, and they were part of my very first hosted Tour de Fleece challenge, and it was very, very fun to do. We had a little group of people, and we were actually spinning yarn with our wheels, and we were kind of doing this in like a race with my partner, who was a very avid hobby cyclist. So we kind of had our wheels against his, and that was a lot of fun. I completely underestimated how quickly some of you can spin a lot of yarn, so in the end the spinners were the winners of the whole challenge. So that was really, really fun. And this is my kind of contribution to it. I spun these on vacation and took my wheel with me, and I was spinning these mostly outside on the terrace, which was lovely. This one has a lot of like rusty reddish tones, and then this one is more like a muted pinky beige that I really like. And I don't really have plans for them yet, but this one is more like a DK weight, and this one is more of like a almost sport to DK, I would say. And I will put the exact numbers down below, but I have a little bit over 100 grams each. So I'm not really sure what to do yet, but I think I might either do a pair of mittens or some kind of a hat that I can start from the top, like from the crown, and then knit downwards, because that way you can kind of, just let the skein of yarn determine how many times you can fold the brim in the end and how long it can go. I did this before when I wasn't really sure how much yarn I would have of a certain base, so that works really well. And I think I might do this with either of these handspun skeins. They both are kind of also trials, because they were in a new spinning fiber blend that I've been working on, and it's my heirloom base. Heirloom is one of my yarn bases, if you're not familiar with it. And I also spun the fiber tops to see how it would spin up by hand, and it's very fun. So these were also kind of like trial samples of this new fiber blend that I hope to bring to the shop on a larger scale at some point. But yeah, those were my handspun skeins from Tour de Fleece, and I have to be honest, I haven't really touched my wheel since, because it was, you know, it was relatively busy summer, and I don't know, I just turned back to knitting after, and had a few samples to finish because, yeah, sometimes I also, you know, I kind of like to have my knitting time also dedicated to some shop samples, to be honest. And yeah, some of those were also test knits, so they required my to be prioritized, kind of. And yeah, without further ado, let me start sharing the first one with you. So this was also, I was a test knitter for this one, and it's one of my most recent finished objects. And this one is the daisy chain scarf by Annabelle Williams. And it's a beautiful, lacy scarf, let kind of small shawl type of project. That's really fun to make, and I used my heirloom 4-ply yarn in the colorway Oxalis, and this is what I have left over, and this is like so impressive, I think, because I only had one skein of yarn for this one. So this whole little scarflet took around 70 grams, I believe. I will link my Ravelry projects down below so you can reference the exact meterage. But yeah, this relatively generously sized scarf only took around 70 or 72 grams of yarn. So yeah, this is what I have left over of just one skein of yarn. I always put labels on my leftovers so I can make sure that I can reference it back if I need a swatch or something. But yeah, this is what I have left in the heirloom 4-ply base. And I love this because sometimes when I help my customers pick the right amount of yarn for their project, and it's kind of on the fence, I always recommend getting one skein more, not to be like a very good salesperson or anything, but rather because I cannot reproduce 99% of my shades, and they are kind of one of a kind dye lots because of the wild nature of natural dyes. And so I would rather have you have a skein too much than, you know, run out of yarn while working on your project. And so I thought I would love to experiment with more one skein projects that I can then recommend to you to make from your leftover yarn. So this is one of them, I guess, and I can wholeheartedly recommend this pattern. You can also lengthen the middle part to whatever you know, size you would like it to be. I think you just need to keep track of how much yarn you used, and then you use roughly half, and then, you know, start decreasing again. But the instructions are in the pattern, so I think, if I'm not mistaken, the pattern is even free on Annabelle's website. I don't know if it's permanently free, but it was at some point. So yeah, definitely check it out. I'm going to link it down below with my sample. But yeah, this one is the daisy chain, and I don't know if you can see, but it has this beautiful lace motif going on. And I have to admit, I was so invested in this project because, to be honest, the lace pattern, it looks complicated, or at least relatively intricate, but it's very intuitive to knit. At least for me, I felt like I could memorize the chart really easily, and even though I kept, you know, referencing back and being very precise about it so I won't mess up the increases or decrease section, I was very, very happy with how intuitive it felt. Even the little bubbles, which usually I really don't like making bubbles. I don't know. I don't know. I don't like doing them. But these ones, I don't know, the technique that Annabelle uses, they are so neat. And also you don't need to turn your knitting around as if you would work a wrong side row, but you rather actually keep making them on the right side of the work, if that makes sense. And I feel this is so much more intuitive and so much more fun to do than, you know, having to turn the work every couple of stitches. So yeah, wholeheartedly recommending this pattern. It's very fun and very quick to make also, and quite generous in size. I'm planning to wear this as like a kind of transition piece almost for when it's kind of chilly outside, like now in the mornings, especially when I go to the, I don't know, to the studio early in the morning and do my walks, and a big scarf is a bit too much, then this little scarflet is quite nice to have something warm around my neck, but nothing too big. So yeah, that's very practical, and I really like it for these days where, you know, a big scarf might be too warm, but this is just perfect. So really happy with the outcome, and I can't wait. I might even make another one because, yeah, it's just really fun to knit and very handy with its size. So yeah, that is my daisy chain scarf, and I am really happy with it. Another recently finished piece that I also posted on Instagram about, that you might have seen already, is this one, and this is my Firth sweater by Rebecca Clow of the Crayer Bayer, and it has been a test knit as well. This is a very simple, easy to wear jumper with some genius details around the shoulder and side seam, and I think it's a very wearable piece. So I think I would love to have more pieces in my wardrobe that I can actually, you know, combine with a lot of different pieces. So kind of like capsule wardrobe style. And when I saw Rebecca post about this one, I was really interested in test knitting it because I thought it's really beautiful and classic, and at the same time has these genius little details that make it interesting still. The pattern was just released a few weeks ago, I believe, and there are two versions. So you can either make it in a 4-ply fingering weight or a DK weight, depending on what you prefer. I made the 4-ply weight version just because I thought it's nice to have a really drapey and soft layering piece. And I chose, again, this is my heirloom 4-ply base in the almond colorway. And yeah, it was very nice to knit. It has a lot of, it's very minimalistic in the final look, but I really like the little details that Rebecca included, both for, you know, some decorative details and as well for the fit. So one thing I want to mention is that there is a sleeve cap knitted, so you actually work quite a few short rows at the beginning of the sleeve. I don't know if you can see that from here, but you knit quite a few short rows to shape the shoulder, and they sit very well. I might include some footage of me wearing the sweater actually. I made it a tiny bit more oversized than what the pattern calls for, so I think with the positive ease it's a bit more, supposed to be a bit more fitted than my version, but I generally wanted to have this as a layering piece, so I like to have a bit more of the positive ease. I also went for the modified neckline, which is the first time I've ever done this, and it's a special technique that makes this little double knitted edge here, and I think it looks very neat and polished, so really like doing that. I think there is a tutorial link in the pattern even for this technique. And yeah, other than that, I knit this one to pattern. The only thing I did was, or modify, not really, but the only thing I did was I knitted it, I think, 3 or 4 centimeters shorter than it was intended to be, just because I am, in metric, I am 157 in height, so usually my torso is shorter than, you know, it is in basic grading systems of knitwear designers. So what I usually do is I crop between 3 to 5 centimeters, depending on the fit I would like to go for. But yeah, that is what I do usually to make sure it fits me with my relatively short torso. And yeah, that was quite nice to do. What I also did is, this is my little tip, maybe I should do a video about how to adjust knitting patterns to your own body type, although I don't think I have the most extensive knowledge about this. But what I always make sure to do when I plan on potentially cropping is I actually finish the front and back, I join in the round, and then I add the collar and the sleeves before I continue the body full length. So I usually just knit whatever's left in the skein into the body after joining in the round, and then before I start a new ball of yarn for the rest of the body, I actually add the sleeves and the neckline first, and then I try it on while I work the length of the body, because I feel a lot of people try on the pieces without sleeves and without a neckline, and especially with this one you can see that the collar pulls together the neck opening quite a bit, and same for the sleeves. So the sleeves openings seemed way bigger than they are after knitting the sleeves into it, and so it can be misleading to actually put on just the vest type of knitting and then determining the length, and then the fabric might change when you pull up the armhole or something by adding the sleeves. So I always recommend adding the collar and the sleeve first, even though it might be a bit awkward in the rhythm of how you do your knits. But it's a lot easier to actually determine the right length for your patterns. So can wholeheartedly recommend the Firth sweater by Rebecca. It also features bust darts, so you can customize it even further to your liking and to your desired fit. Oh, and I can't get over this detail here. It's just very beautiful. I used Jenny's, is it Jenny? Surprisingly stretchy bind off to bind off the 2x2 ribbing, because I wanted to make sure with the crop fit that it wouldn't like tuck in too much. And I'm very happy with how it turned out. I think this is going to be one of my most worn pieces during the autumn. So yeah, definitely super happy. And what's also cool to mention is that I only used, I think, 320 grams of fingering weight yarn. So for a size, I think I went for a size 6 to have a bit more positive ease. So that's quite generous, I would say. So with about 400 grams skeins of yarn, you can make a full sweater in this size. So yeah, that's quite nice, and I really like how it turned out. So far about my Firth, let me show you my next finished object. So my next, well, not really garment type, but bigger finished object that I have to share with you is my Petra scarf. And this one is also a recently released pattern by Laura McLean of Sunday Morning Knits. And it's this very simple textured triangular shawl that has a really nice size for me, to be honest. That's very individual how you like the sizes, but this one is, I don't know if I can even show this to you, but it's quite generous in size, I would say. And yeah, it has this simple textured motif that is super easy to memorize and very fun to do. So it's just a little bit more going on than just a regular stockinette. But still easy enough to not have to pay attention all of the time. So yeah, this is the Petra scarf, and what's really cool about this pattern is that it's actually a recipe pattern. So regardless of yarn amount and yarn weight, you can make this pattern in a lot of different sizes, and Laura is going to guide you through how to, how much yarn you might need, or how to determine when to start the decreases and what size you can make from the yarn that you have. So it's actually also a great stash busting project, and I personally used my heirloom DK yarn in the undyed grey shade, just to have this as honestly a really classic winter scarf that I can wear with my hand-sewn wool coat that I made a while ago. So I think this is just perfect for it, and very wearable, and I wanted something that would be classy and very minimalistic so I could wear it all year round. So yeah, that's how I think I would wear it, probably with my coat. It's really nice and warm and squishy, but you can also make it in like a smaller size with the pattern. So I can't exactly remember how much yarn I used for this one, but I think it was around 300 grams. I'm definitely going to link the exact meterage into my sample that I will have a link to in the description box below, where you can see everything and also see some more photos of this one. But yeah, I think it was around 300 grams for this quite generously sized version of DK weight yarn. So yeah, so far about my Petra scarf. I'm very happy. As said, the pattern is now live in Laura's Ravelry shop, and you can find it if you just, click on my sample. It will be linked there, and you will be able to reference it back. I'm definitely going to get a lot of wear out of this one, I can tell. And if you want to make your own version, I just recently had a restock, like as of now, so kind of end of September 2025. I just had a restock of this yarn, so in case you're interested. This is my heirloom base, which is a completely traceable yarn that can be traced back to farm and is spun locally by the Jonarban Textiles mill in Exmoor, Devon. So very lovely yarn. I like it very much, and I'm very pleased with how the shawl turned out and can't wait to wear it through the winter time. So yeah, I guess that is it about my Petra scarf. Let me start sharing some more projects with you. Next up, as we are currently transitioning into the month of October, I have some Socktober appropriate finished objects here as well. So let me start sharing them with you. This one is another recent pattern release, and it's the Agramonia sock pattern by Marie-Eve Wedge of In Her Skein, who is a lovely designer. I absolutely adore her designs. I have made her Lunaria socks. I think they should be in one of my other podcast episodes somewhere. And I adore her patterns. I think they are really well written. They are very cute and have some interesting details most of the time. And so have these. So the Agramonia socks have this very beautiful and intricate lace pattern going on that is just really, really cute and fun to make also. And then they have this picot edge as a finishing, which I find is a very cute detail. So yeah, these are the Agramonia socks. They have just released in Marie-Eve's Ravelry shop, I believe. So they should be available as of now. So if you want to make them and need some inspiration for a little bit of your Socktober project, these are very fun. And I have a little tip for you that I found out during the blocking process. If you work the picot edging, it might be that they are a bit frilly. At least that was the case for me. And I actually put them on a sock blocker. So if you have a sock blocker, you can put them on there and then put a little rubber band just around here to kind of snug it together and keep the picot in place. And I feel that way it turned out quite neatly. I used my overstock yarn for this, and I think I made size 2 or 3. It will be in my Ravelry project page. But yeah, these are around 70 grams of sock yarn, and yeah, I'm incredibly happy with them. I can imagine the little picot edge peeking out of my winter boots, so I think that will be very sweet. Yeah, wholeheartedly recommending the pattern. It's very well done, very well written, as all of Marie-Eve's patterns are, at least as far as I can tell, because I loved making her patterns so far. But yeah, these are the Agramonia socks. There might even be a discount currently. I don't know if it's still going on, but you might want to check relatively soon on her patterns. So far about the Agramonia socks. But that's not all for the socks. I participated in another test knit, and the outcome are these. You might have seen them on my September preview video already. But these are the Day's Eyes socks by Jess Thompson, and I'm not able to pronounce the username, so putting it somewhere because I'm going to mess up badly. But these are the Day's Eyes socks, and you actually knit almost a stockinette stitch sock, but with some holes, some small ones, and then after you finished the sock, you embroider these little flowers. And there are instructions in the pattern on how to do this, and I'm so happy with how they turned out. I used 2 colors of like leftovers from ovis sock, which is also the base that I used for the socks in general, but these are like more of a coolish beige and then an orangey undertoned shade. And I think they turned out so cute. I am not sure when the pattern's going to be released, but you might want to just keep an eye out. I will link the pattern down below, or at least my Ravelry project down below. And then you might want to give Jess a follow on Instagram, and then you might find out when these will be released. But I can definitely tell they are very fun to make. Also not too complicated, like if you need a simple travel project, for example, and you don't really want to do just a vanilla sock, but you know, something slightly more decorative or exciting, then these are great to do. So far about the Day's Eyes sock. Super happy. I used just some random leftovers, to be honest, so I don't 100% know the colorways of these yarns anymore, because it was something I had in my kind of, if I want to say that way, like business stash. You know, I try to keep, sometimes when a colorway doesn't turn out the right way, or I have leftovers from like some sample dyeing for a collaboration or so, I keep the skeins and I just make personal projects out of them. So perks of being a yarn dyer, I guess. But these were just made in like this warmish kind of cinnamony brown, and then these little leftovers I had from other projects. So yeah, these are the Day's Eyes socks, and I'm really happy. That's about it for my wearable projects, and also for my finished objects, because the next things that I have to share with you are kind of in the making still. And let me just share with you where I'm at with these. So the other projects I'm working on are still in the making, so I guess we're now transitioning into the kind of work in progress section of the podcast. So one of the projects from this summer was also to work a couple of, initially a couple of sample things for my countdown calendar launch. And I have to admit that I really fell in love with these, so I kind of guess I will be making more. So these are my little, you might have seen them on Instagram, my little crochet quilt stars. And I made them from leftovers from, I said, like ovis sock leftovers I had from other samples or from like sample dyeing. And I made these little quilt star squares, and I think they turned out so cute. I'm definitely not an expert in crochet, so for me this was a bit of an adventure, but I am obsessed with them. I try to keep the palette relatively earthy and moody, because that's what I think will suit my interior the best, and I'm thinking I will make a blanket out of it, because initially I only planned to make these as a little you know, idea for what you can make with a countdown calendar, but now I fell in love with them so much that I am making my own blanket with them. Whoops. Yeah, they are just very sweet and I love them. And they are quite easy to make. I made these ones up, to be honest, but if you purchase one of the countdown calendars, which I believe at this point when this video goes live, there should be a very few last ones in the shop right now. Don't quote me on that, depending on when you watch this video. But as of end of September, I think we have a few last units, like maybe 1 or 2 per tier or so. So if you are interested. But yeah, I'm so happy with them and I kind of want to make a small lap blanket with them. I also made a larger version. Also made this one up, kind of, trying to make it resemble a quilt star pattern. So yeah, quite happy with these. I think they are so cute and I love the color scheme, and it's quite fun to kind of make up different combinations of colors with, you know, leftovers that I have. Most of these are literally leftovers from sample projects I made before, so it's also nice to use up some yarn that has been laying around for a while, like small bits of skeins, or like 30-40 grams of a skein from a pair of socks I made. So this is making great use of them. So those are my little quilt star squares, and actually I did not stop there. I was very inspired in general by crochet this summer. For the quilt stars, by the way, I had a little bit of help from my mom even. So we visited my parents when they were on holiday in Denmark for a week, and we visited them for a weekend because we live very close to the Danish border, so it's actually quite easy for us to go to Denmark. It's just a few hours car ride. And we visited them for a weekend, and apparently it was pouring rain all weekend. So we were inside mostly, and I made these, like, crocheted these little single squares and had them sew together with my mom. So it was a bit of a collaborative project. And then for some more inspiration for the countdown calendars, I made some classic granny squares, and I fell in love with them as well. So I'm like, I think I want to make a pillow from these. So they are also made from leftovers. Mainly also, I think this is mainly ovis sock leftovers, but yeah, I just made like 75% color on the inside and then went for a neutral white ecru border. And I think this is just so cute. And it feels very classic and autumnal. And I kind of want to make a cushion cover for our couch with these ones. I have a little stack already of these, but definitely making some more soon-ish. But yeah, these are my little crochet projects I've been working on recently. And I don't know, I'm kind of getting into crochet. Usually knitting is my main fiber craft that I work with, but I'm really into crochet at the moment. Do you crochet, or is it something you're not really trying to do? I don't know, for me it was quite fun, especially during the summer, working on these like smaller pieces and you don't have, you know, a big project on your lap all of the time. I found this quite helpful and easy to do. So these were really fun. But back to knitting, I guess, with my last work in progress for this episode. It looks a bit weird at this stage, but I have participated in another test knit. I don't know what's even going on with me, but I am doing so many test knits at the moment. It's not on purpose, it's more that I just fall in love with patterns I see from designers on Instagram or on other platforms, and then I just want to make them and I just sign up for the test knits. So this one is the beginning of my Crail cardigan. It's also a test knit for the Crayer Bear, so for Rebecca. And this one is a full-on cabled honeycomb type of cardigan. It's a bit awkward to hold up because it, you know, it's open here. But yeah, this is the top part, and it's worked with some raglan increases here. And I think I have around like 10 or 15 rows more until I can split sleeves and body. And I'm really excited. I'm so happy with this. It's quite addictive to work on, actually, because of the honeycomb pattern. So it looks a little bit like stiff and squashed together at the moment, but I have made multiple swatches to check what kind of fabric I really want to go for, and once you block this one, it's going to relax quite significantly and, you know, release the beautiful honeycomb pattern very well. This is a woolen spun yarn that I'm working with, so it's going to bloom and, you know, change in texture quite a bit with blocking. And this is how it looks in the skein. And this is a little sneak peek at a new yarn base that I'm going to be having later this year. And it's beautiful. I'm already in love. It doesn't have a name yet, but I can tell I'm already in love. And this is going to be one of the samples for this yarn. And I don't know, I saw the test call and I was immediately having this vision of making a cardigan that is classic as classic cable cardigan can be. You know, very simple, old school type cable cardigan. And I thought it's quite nice to have it like really classic autumnal with a linen dress underneath. And, you know, I kind of feel the Gilmore Girls soundtrack playing in my head right now when I envision this. So yeah, I hope I will be able to take some photos that will showcase what I really mean with this vision. But I love the natural color of this yarn. It's undyed natural state, and I'm so happy with it. I can't wait to knit on this a bit further. I will be on holiday for a longer weekend next weekend, so I hope to bring this and make some progress on it. It's very squishy, and I can imagine this is going to be so warm. It's going to be lovely. So yeah, this is my Creole cardigan so far. This is the new yarn that I'm using. And I'm really excited to work on this, even though it was quite a change from my first sweater, which I worked on 3.25mm needles, and this one is on 5. So from fingering to worsted weight was a big jump. And I personally have to say, I usually am more like a small needle type of person. I don't necessarily love working with large needles, but this is also just so addictive to work that it's fine most of the time. So I also am making this actually because my friend Jenny of Kotikotoni will laugh at this maybe if she watches, but I am unable, or I was unable to work cables without a cable needle, which I think, yeah, we were talking about this and Jenny couldn't believe that I actually am not able to. So I'm practicing cabling without a cable needle, and what better to do that than with a honeycomb pattern, because it's just, you know, it has two by two cables, 2 stitches by 2 stitches. So it's very easy to work them without a cable needle. So yes, a lot of cabling is involved, and I'm not using a cable needle for this project. So it's a bit of a practice project as well. So yeah, I'm really excited about how this is turning out. I might cast on another small project for my travels, just because we are planning to also walk around. We're going to Italy for a longer weekend, because my partner is attending a kind of, I think it's called a retro bike race. It's like a cycling event in Italy where you can only attend with with bicycles that have been built before, I believe 1990 or something. It's very fun. It's very retro. They are actually wearing woolen sports clothes because it's not allowed to wear lycra or anything. So it's proper like retro style, very iconic. And yeah, I'm joining him, and I will be probably exploring the small village that we're at while he's racing his bike. So I might need a bit more of a portable project because this one is already quite big, I would say. So I'm thinking of getting another cast on going, maybe like a small shawl or another pair of socks, because apparently it's October, so I should probably be making some more socks. But yeah, that is my plan for this longer weekend trip. Other than that, I guess I will give you a little bit of an update on what's been going on the past months in terms of, business news and what I've been working on behind the scenes. If that's not your cup of tea, you're very welcome to just use the timestamps to jump to the outro section. But yeah, if that's something you're interested in, feel free to let me know, because I never really know how and when to incorporate any kind of behind the scenes material, or yeah, tell you about these kind of things. Trying to navigate which channel to use and, how to share about these things. But I thought it's nice to take you along what I'm actually up to and how things are going as a full-time yarn dyer sometimes. And without further ado, let me share some what's been going on the past months on the business side of things. So, as most of you will probably know, earlier this summer there was a new US tariffs announcement going on, and it all was very, very short notice. And I usually try to work on my winter projects, and because it's a much busier season for me as a yarn dyer, from like September to April, I try to also incorporate some preparation and project work in the summer that is already aiming towards the winter season, because usually the winter is just a lot busier. And yeah, I just try to, shuffle around things and have my capacities spread out as well as I can. And since I was also launching my first ever countdown calendar this year, which is a very labor intensive project, I had planned this to be happening or to be made over the summer months. But yeah, the US tariff change had been announced at the end of July. And then it was about to come into effect end of August. So that was a relatively short time frame, and it meant that there needed to be a logistical change in how to be able to keep shipping and be compliant to all the new regulations. And I kind of set up a whole new logistical system, and also technically set up a new system on how I could be compliant and collect duties at checkout and all of these kind of things. So it all came very suddenly, and so I spent some weeks researching and trying to find a solution for the situation, which I luckily did. So you're very welcome to check out the shop. As US customers, I ship to the US. It's all sorted, and duties can be paid at checkout, so it's actually no unforeseen charges upon delivery, which was very important to me because I believe that, this is a service I really want to offer. And yeah, I ended up finding a solution, but it was a relatively intense time. And how I usually work is that I have a pretty strict schedule about when to launch which projects, and those are actually planned quite far in advance, because all kinds of collaborations, all kinds of projects I work with are always very slow, because they either have knitwear design in it, or handmade products, or something that requires time and patience. And what's always very important to me is that I never want to rush my collab partners, and there shall always be like a good time frame to work within. And yeah, that's why I usually have a schedule that's planned quite far ahead. And yeah, I kind of had to shuffle everything around. So all of my winter, like autumn and winter plans, I kind of ditched them all and shuffled everything around in order to be able to first work out the new US tariff situation before launching my countdown calendars. So yeah, things were funky, I will say. So yeah, a lot has been going on this summer that I didn't really plan to go on, but for some reason, even though it was challenging, I also kind of enjoyed the process of, working on a solution for the situation, because even though, I kind of like my brain to be stimulated at all times, and I'm very, like, I love to learn new things and to kind of solve problems. So for me, it was also quite fulfilling to be able to find a solution for the situation. And yeah, I also try to keep a mindset of positivity because, yeah, I mean, it was challenging to face these new regulations and be able to be compliant in a relatively short time frame. But for some reason, I try to kind of stay in the mindset of, seeing every challenge as something that I can grow from and that I can learn from. And even though it was intimidating and I was scared and also didn't really know what the future might hold, it was also quite fulfilling to work on this. And now I'm very happy with the solution that I found. So yeah, that has been going on over the past weeks. In the meantime, the countdown calendars have launched. We have a handful last ones left as of now, end of September, depending on when you're watching this. But yeah, that's what has been going on in the past couple of weeks. I guess that is it for what I wanted to share with you today. Thank you so much for being here and listening to my rambles about yarn and wool and all these kind of things. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and yeah, I can't wait to update you again on what I'll be casting on next. Thank you so much for being here and sticking around till the end, and I guess see you in the next one. Happy knitting. Bye!